I can feel all eyes on me like a million tiny daggers driving into my skin. I'm staring at the equation on the board, trying to calculate the right answer. But my thoughts are all jumbled, and if I try to make sense of everything, my mind goes blank. I don't know the answer, I say. With a look of disappointment, the teacher swiftly calls on another student with their hand proudly raised. And suddenly, I am overwhelmed with the feeling of shame.
I'm Pamela Portnoy.
I'm Alexa Marie Anderson.
And no one's okay.
That was traumatizing for me.
That was 7th grade?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vulnerability.
Here we are.
All right.
I'm not so enthusiastic.
You have been dreading this. We almost didn't do this episode. Alexa was short-circuiting 100%.
I mean, I'll just be honest. Like, writing this story, I had a lot of issues.
I feel like the bad guy, honestly. I feel like I talked Alexa into doing something that she didn't want to do.
It's not that I don't want to do it, but I think it'll be good for me. So I want to do it for that reason, if that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the story's done.
The story's done.
What did we do as an exercise to lean into this?
We had to stare into each other's eyes for 4 minutes.
It went by really quick for me.
It actually went by quicker than I thought it would.
It felt like 2 minutes for me.
It didn't feel as long as I thought it would, but I was like inflicting pain on myself to get through it. What was that? I was like,
you were really like
squeezing
pinching?
my arm. I was pinching my arm. It was an issue. I don't really know.
Okay, here's what I noticed about.
Okay, you tell me, because you were looking at me. You were so calm. You were so calm and together and fine.
Thank you.
You did great.
This was not my first time doing this exercise. I think this was your first time doing this exercise.
Yeah.
I try to do it as often as I can. Like, if I have a scene partner that I need to have some like level of intimacy with, I try to do this exercise if they're cool with it.
It's a good exercise.
It's really interesting what you notice about people. Aside from like what's physically going on, like you have insane eyelashes and like your face is very symmetrical.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yours as well.
I was admiring your beauty.
Let me
honestly.
just point out real quick. Pamela has amazing eyebrows.
Thank you.
Her eyebrows are like no other. Let me just tell you right now. You can't see them, but they're amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I try.
Eyebrow game on point.
I've got 2 of them.
You've got 2 of them.
It's a good day if I've got 2 of them.
Oh my God. I hope everyone has 2 eyebrows. That's very...
I mean, not all the time.
Wait, so what did you observe? I want to know. I'm so curious.
Okay, yeah, other than like your beauty, your symmetry, your
very sweet.
eyelashes. You have very kind eyes, and you were nervous as fuck. 100%. What was funny, because thinking about prepping this episode, I was thinking about vulnerability and like how it feels. And like one of the most vulnerable parts that I think we have as like human beings is our neck. And you did not expose your neck to me for 1 goddamn second of this exercise. You were propping your chin up on your hands. You were touching your neck. You were touching your necklace. You were like as if I was a vampire about to suck your blood.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I get really stressed. I think I've told you this before. I get really stressed when people touch me on the shoulders and like just anywhere in this general vicinity, like my shoulders, my neck. Whenever I'm like stressed out about something, I immediately grab here.
Your neck.
My neck. Yes.
Your clavicle.
They can't see me. I'm sorry.
They can. Well, they
my
can.
Clavicle.
Maybe we'll let that.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're filming this episode, and we hope that you'll be able to see it.
It actually makes me feel. This is so weird. It makes me feel a little more safe if I grab right here.
Well, yeah, you're blocking anything that can technically harm it, because I think I'm not a scientist. Let's put that out there, but I think that part is like because your pulse is there. That's where you're, the big artery. Jason, what's the artery called that's right there?
Is it your carotid?
I was gonna say carotid,
Jugular.
but like I'm like I can never
This is your
jugular. Where's the carotid then?
Carotid's in your heart, I think.
Okay. I think you're right. It's the jugular. The one that if like Quentin Tarantino, he slashes in every movie and blood goes squirting out.
Yeah, that one. I was protecting that.
You're protecting that.
Interesting.
It's very vulnerable.
That makes a lot of sense because in my experience with just being with people, I have a lot of issues with this area, my shoulders and my neck.
That's so interesting you say that because I actually had an experience recently with a young man.
Dead.
A young man, and who I will, maintain his privacy. And he touched my neck, and he was just like touching the front of my neck, and I was freaking out, just like so nervous because you're entrusting that person not to, other than like he was divine and blah blah blah. Like you're trusting that person not to hurt you.
Yeah,
I think at a very
I'm
base level.
Yeah, protective of that because I've been in situations where a man in particular has tried, and I'm like, oof, I'm like cringing. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know
Especially
about
if I don't know them that well, I'm like stressed. I'm like stage 10 stressed. I'm like, what's gonna happen?
What's
I don't
gonna
know.
happen? Are you about to choke me out?
I don't know.
What is this?
Am I gonna die?
It like feels very pleasant, but
Yeah.
on the verge of like, oh.
See, I don't even feel any pleasant. I'm like, get out of my space.
I think it's
Something's
very
wrong.
pleasant when it's like someone that like you want in your space.
Yeah, you would think.
Not for you?
Well, I don't know that. I guess I should say, and obviously I'll keep the privacy of this person, but it's not that I didn't want them in this space. So I don't really know what my issue was. I think it's
Even subconsciously?
I think it was a trust issue. To be honest with you. I was very unsure of this person's intentions.
It's also like one of those things where like when you give someone a handshake, you keep them literally and figuratively at an arm's distance.
Right.
It's not normal behavior for someone to like come up and touch your neck.
No. Oh, no.
It's not normal.
I was very caught off guard, and I kind of pretended, which I do with a lot of things that I don't like. I pretended it didn't happen.
All right.
I was like, I'll just keep my composure and just pretend it's not happening.
Honestly, to be a fly on that wall, seeing that happen, like, how did it even, he just, like, reached out?
I mean, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about, but I don't, like, how did that even come up?
Well, we were in a situation that would be normal.
All right.
We were watching Grey's Anatomy, actually. I love Grey's Anatomy. So
was it the back of your neck or the front of your neck?
No. It wasn't even my neck.
It was your shoulder.
It was my shoulder.
I don't have that problem with my shoulder. I love when people rub my shoulders. But
Yeah,
like
no, I have
no
a
one
severe-
touches my neck.
I have a severe issue with like shoulders and neck. Like both.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I was like, it wasn't even necessarily I think I was just really guarded and really, I think it has a lot to do with just we weren't like communicating on a level where we both knew each other's intentions. So I think I was super guarded. And so when that happened, I was like, I don't know how to respond. And also I'm stressed and I'm uncomfortable. And I'd like, not that I'm mad that it's happening. I was like, oh, well, that's great. But like also I'm unsure. So I'm going to stay guarded. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
You know, like I was like, it was too much information.
I get
all
that.
at once.
It's
and I wasn't
overwhelming.
prepared for it. I like to be prepared.
I get that.
Yeah.
You definitely do.
Oh, yeah.
So during this exercise, that was all you were like, I did not see your neck at all.
I mean, it definitely makes sense. and
Did
it's
I
funny
pose that much of a threat to you? Do you feel like I was
no,
scary?
I don't even think so. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think it's just I don't like people to know my things.
Stay away from my things.
Stay away from my things. I don't like that. That's a terrible trait to have, I guess. But I don't know. And something about the eye contact, and I think I've told you this before, it makes me feel super uncomfortable. And like, you're going to find out things about me that I don't want you to know. But like, it's impossible because we're not talking. So I don't know what that is
Yeah,
about.
I don't really have, telepathy.
And you know me pretty well. It's not like I share a lot of stuff with you as a person. So, I don't know. I mean, it was easier. I feel like if you were a man right now, I wouldn't have been able to make eye contact for 4 minutes.
Really?
Absolutely
Jason,
not.
you want to hop in here?
Get out. Jason's like, I'm good.
He's like, I left the first time for a reason.
Jason's like, I'm uncomfortable too. I don't think it's best.
He's like, I'm not even facing you right now, and I'm
my God.
uncomfortable.
No, because I told you this is with another lovely, and I'll say lovely because he is lovely. Another lovely human. He would like look at me, and I would like totally be like, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me? And he's like, am I not allowed?
Close your eyes.
I'm like, I don't know. But he was in a closer proximity too, so I think I got even more stressed. I was like, I don't know why he's staring at me.
What do you do in intimate scenes?
It's different because I don't really have feelings aren't really involved.
So what?
So if feelings aren't really involved, I'm really good at making it up. Like I'm fine with making eye contact with someone I don't actually have feelings for. That's easy peasy. But like if it's someone that like there's higher stakes where I'm like my feelings are involved, forget about it.
You know, I was just thinking about when you said that. I was just thinking about, well, then like how are you gonna like how
am
do
I
you
gonna live
do
my
your
life?
work? No. Like how do you do the work? What is their process of like becoming intimate with someone in a scene? However, then I thought of a teacher that I once had that was teaching me doing a scene that, you know, required me to like be super emotional, and I kept trying to like get the emotion and like find it within myself, and I guess I was like internalizing it too much. And he said to me, no one out here gives a shit what you're feeling. We care what you're making us feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that blew my mind. I was like, oh, I really don't have to be.
And I think that's kind of how I operate. It's funny that you say that because I'm just like, okay, well, I need to make them feel a certain way. It's not about me. So when I'm acting, it's not about me. It's about what I'm portraying, about what I'm putting out there. So it's less vulnerable, if that makes sense.
That's so interesting. I love being vulnerable, though.
I hate it so much.
What did you experience? I told you what I experienced watching you. What did you experience?
I was like so fidgety with myself. I was actually, and you know what's interesting? I was like digging my nails into my arm, and I do that when I'm about to cry. I do that a lot, like to stop my tears from happening. I'll actually inflict pain.
That's so interesting.
Which is weird because you would think if you inflict pain, like you would cry more. Stupid. No, I'll like bite, like if I'm ever on the verge of tears and I don't want to be, I'll bite my lip or I will dig my nail into my hand.
Wow.
It's like,
I
I sound insane.
You don't sound insane because I do something similar, but it's not to do with pain. It's about like focusing my energy somewhere else.
Which is probably what it is, what I'm doing too.
So
probably.
like one thing that I do that I don't feel like other people can, you know, tell I'm doing is if I'm feeling extra nervous or extra like I need a little bit more power, I will like actually curl my toes inside my shoe.
Oh
and
yeah,
I'll,
you
like,
told me this.
Press on my
Yeah.
toes, and it like puts the energy in my foot instead of like up here in my chest, because when I'm nervous, it's all up in my heart space.
Yeah.
And it really like prevents me from breathing well. I'm just like, let me catch my breath. Why is she breathing? Why is she swallowing weird? It's just like all the pressure is in my chest.
Now that we're going down this road, because I do a lot of weird things to stay out of vulnerable situations.
Does not surprise me.
Oh yeah. I will. God, this is gonna sound so insane. I will fake yawn to look disinterested so I don't have to be vulnerable.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is crazy. All right, maybe I should. Like if I'm like in a situation where like something should be like I might have to answer someone, like if they ask me a question that I'm uncomfortable with, I'll take a minute, I'll yawn, like I'm tired, to like think about what I should say in order to like still guard myself and not give it all. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but I want to see this. I want to see how good your fake yawn
I
is.
can't do it right now.
No,
Now
I
you're looking
really
at
want
me.
to see it. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, and then you're going to have to do it because I want to see if these people that you're doing this fake yawn
They're gonna
to
be
can
like-
see right through it. because I want to see if you're actually like really good at it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll
It gives
fool
me
anyone.
time to like, I don't know.
Okay. That was, you've done that to me.
Oh, I probably have. It's a habit.
That was fake?
Mm-hmm.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You've definitely done that to me.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God, did I make you that uncomfortable that you do
No,
that?
it's not even like it's specific to a person. It's just if I don't know what.
I will say at the beginning was totally sold. The end needed some help.
Okay, well, I
now
also
that I know
started.
that it's fake, I'm analyzing it.
Yeah, no, I and it's even like a habit. Like I'll even find myself doing it when I feel uncomfortable, like automatically. Ever since
Do
probably
the people that
high
are like
school.
closest to you in your life?
No one
that
knows
you
about
do-
this. I just
Is
mentioned
this
it
the
now.
first time?
This is the first time everyone's gonna know now.
That's so funny.
no one knows.
Now no one's gonna know if you're actually tired or if you're just avoiding a situation.
I know. I just messed up.
Holy shit, you're full of surprises, girl. That was good.
Shane doesn't even know that.
Now he does.
I know. Oh. Awkward.
That was very good. Anything you noticed about?
You were really good at, well, I thought you would be because I admire so much how you put yourself out there. Like, you have no idea. You have no idea how much I admire that. So I knew you would be good at it. You were very calm. You sat there with your hands crossed and just stared at me like it was like an everyday activity. And I was like, God damn it. You were so stoic. And I was just,
stoic?
yeah, you were just very stoic. You were just looking at me. And I tried to distract myself because I knew, because you know when you look at someone and their eyes go back and forth.
I had the same thought too.
Because you're looking at each eyeball at one time because you can't really, yeah.
Right.
So I was watching your eyes go back and forth. And I was like, that was helping me get through it a little bit. So I was like, oh, look, she's looking in each of my eyes.
I was actually conscious of that because I was looking into your left eye and I was like, but I want to see her right eye. And I'm like, but because a scene partner of mine called me out on it for like having googly eyes once.
Interesting.
Like, because I want to get the full effect of the face. And they're
Oh my
like, why are
gosh.
your eyes shifting so much? And like for filming, usually they want you to stare at one eye.
Yes, they do.
So
That's
that
interesting
you're a
you
little
brought
more
that
still.
up. Yeah.
But I love getting the full effect of the face.
Your face is very symmetrical as well.
Thank you.
It's very nice. You have a
Thank
very
you.
nice face.
Thank you.
And a good smile.
You're sweet. Likewise.
Thanks.
That's enough of that.
All right.
So, your story that you did at the top,
Mm-hmm.
7th grade.
Yeah. So that's a big thing for me because
You almost did the yawn.
I did. Oh my god.
Was that a real one or fake
No,
one?
it was
You caught
fake.
yourself?
I did it. Oh my god. It's a huge thing that I think that stuck with me, obviously, until now, because I'm bringing it up. As a student, and I didn't realize this about myself, actually, I should say, until I was older, I have a hard time comprehending things while sitting down. That sounds like super odd, but my body has to be involved for me to really interpret the information I'm being given.
It makes so much sense because you're a dancer.
Exactly. And I actually learned this about myself when I was doing musical theater shows and learning my lines. I had to physically walk, get up, pace, learn my lines. So
That also, I hear, cements the information.
yeah, my body just has to be, I have to have it in my body. That's just how I am. And so going through school, I had a really tough time because like sitting down, I'm such a daydreamer. So like if I'm sitting down and I'm relaxed and my body's like kind of turned off, my mind also is turned off and it's wandering other places. So I would, I struggled in school with that. And specifically with math because this is not my forte. It's not a subject that I loved and I wasn't good at it. And it would drive me, the most vulnerable place was when teachers would call on me and my hand wasn't raised. And I'm like, well, if I'm not raising my hand, I don't know the answer. So I don't know why you're calling on me.
I hate that.
And it was so uncomfortable.
The Socratic method. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, and it's like they call on me. I'm not raising my hand. I obviously don't know the answer. And then it's like instead of it's being like, okay, why don't you know the answer? And let's try to figure this out. They would just be like, oh, well. They would call on someone else with their hand raising. And like, so I wasn't really learning anything. Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean.
It was infuriating, and I mean, I guess I should say it's more infuriating now because I'm comprehending what had happened. And when I was a kid, I just thought I was stupid. I really thought I was dumb because I didn't understand how I learned, and I wasn't there yet with that, obviously. So I went through a lot of my life thinking I was like not intelligent.
It's interesting that you say that because when we were talking about doing an episode on vulnerability, I was like thinking about what I would be comfortable sharing and what I wouldn't be comfortable sharing. And one of the things that has been coming up ever since we like embarked on this journey of, creating this project was, what if people who hear this think I'm stupid?
Oh, 101%. That's what I was thinking.
Granted, I'm not like a Mensa candidate by any means, but like I grew up with like highly intelligent parents, and like around like I surround myself with like really friends that are like so badass in the fields that they tackle. I have like a lot of badass attorney friends and like writer friends, like amazing minds that I surround myself with, and like my fear is I'm just the dumbest person in the room.
I completely
and that
agree.
Gonna,
that
like,
is a huge fear of mine. Yeah. No, it's a huge fear of mine, and I get really upset when people think I'm dumb or they insinuate that I'm stupid. It really, really gets me, and I really get really upset.
It's a really big insecurity that I have all the time, and like
Which
I try
you shouldn't have because you're very intelligent.
I appreciate that, but there's always like room for improvement.
Right.
Like I wish I were more. I've been reading the newspapers more. I've been listening to, news podcasts more. I've been trying to get back into reading and like doing things to improve my mind, because that's when I feel like I'm actively doing that instead of, falling back on my, depressive like rerun phase. I feel a lot better when I'm, actively engaged in improving my mind. But it's so easy to fall back on nasty habits. Those are probably one of the things that I'm really insecure about and feel bad about.
It's like a feeling of shame. Like I felt like I was a bad person for not, you know what I mean? Like it was a total feeling of shame whenever I wouldn't know something or I wasn't prepared or something like that, and it sticks with me until this day. I'm like constantly working through that.
And every time I think I don't know where I don't have the best vocabulary, but there are certain words that'll come out of my mouth and I'm like, I didn't know I knew that word, and then I'll have to like go check immediately. Like I'll use a word and I'll be like, wait, did I use this word correctly? Because if not, I'm gonna have to take it back and make it. I have to smooth it through somehow.
Yep. I do that all the time. I do that all the time, checking myself. And
full disclosure, like I was listening to one of our episodes yesterday, and I was literally sitting there with Google Dictionary.
Oh God!
Like I'm like, did I use that word? Did I use it correct? Oh, I did use it correct. Fuck.
Oh my gosh.
So it's tightrope of insecurity and vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Why is the intelligence thing so big?
I guess, going through school, and it's if you were smart, that was a huge thing. I don't know. I feel like that was.
I recently had an experience where I was at this is like so probably TMI, but whatever. I was at a Christmas party for a studio a couple of years ago. And there was a producer there that would not believe it, and that I went to a summer program for Shakespeare at Oxford, which, in my opinion, wasn't that big of a deal because it was just like a summer program that I paid tuition for.
Right.
I went of my own,
And he didn't believe you?
Yeah, he's like, I don't believe that you studied there.
Ew. No.
And it made me feel like, what
about
aura
me?
Am I giving off that you
Right.
don't think that would be believable? Even though, honestly, like, it's not that hard to get it. Like,
no,
I did audition, but also, like, it's not like I got into Oxford for the undergrad 4-year program. I just went for a summer program to study Shakespeare. And I'm not knocking it because it is a badass fucking program. But the way he said it, like, oh, you didn't go there. It made me feel like shit. And I like took up arms and I was like, yes, I did. And he started quizzing me on alumni.
What?
Yeah. And it was just out of control. And I just felt really, really small. And it was at the end of the day, he was wrong and stupid. But you know, it didn't not leave a little bit of a mark on me.
Well, one thing I want to say is that I hope you know that what he was doing to you has everything to do with him.
Oh, 100%.
And nothing to do with you.
100%. At the time, it was like
it's
hard to comprehend
yeah.
because it was embarrassing. It was in front of a room full of people that are consistently working in the industry. It was kind of embarrassing, but like I am no stranger at this point to embarrassment in that kind of realm.
Talk about vulnerability.
Yeah.
Going to school, like college for theater, I like to call it trauma school instead of drama school. Talk about getting up
you
in
had a
front
difficult professor, didn't you?
Yeah. Gosh. I loved the training I got. I just want to say that. I got wonderful, wonderful training. But it was rough. It was really rough. We had professors that would just particularly pick us apart. And a lot of vulnerability. Think about it. You have to get up in front of your peers and perform by yourself. Specifically, my musical theater techniques class was very difficult. And there was one time in particular where me and my scene partner got up to do a scene into song. And it was a time where actually another professor was out. So we actually had 2 musical theater techniques class. So it was actually my entire class in this classroom. And she took that time to just pick us apart, just completely mind you, before we even did our work. She was asking us how much we rehearsed, what we did when we rehearsed. She was like quizzing us before we even had done the work.
But that's also not letting the work speak for itself.
Right, exactly. So what I was doing while she was having her tangent, I had we had certain costumes that we were wearing at the time, and so I was fixing. I honestly was mentally preparing myself to not listen to what she was saying because I knew it would affect the work I was about to do. Mm-hmm. So I was, kind of trying to distract myself politely, I would say. I wasn't, being outrageous. I was just fixing the skirt I had on. And she looks at me and she goes, "You're not listening to me." And I was like, this is like the first time I ever talked back to a teacher. I was like, "No, I'm not." And she got really upset. And I said, "Listen," I said, "we haven't even done our work yet." I said, "Let us do the work."
You said that?
Yeah. I said, "Let us do the work." And
it's really none of anybody's business, like how we get there.
Exactly. And of course I'm crying while I say it because I have a problem. But like
when you get enraged, you get emotional.
I really do. When I'm angry, I cry.
Same.
It's really bad. Immediately, like just out of nowhere. And I start crying and she obviously was like, "Are you going to be okay?"
Ew.
And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Are you sure? Do you want to do the scene?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And she's like, "Okay, that's what I want to see." It was like she was testing us. And I got really frustrated. And anyway, we did the work, and it was fabulous.
What did she say?
Absolutely fabulous. And actually, because at the beginning of this conversation, she was like, "I have to have you 2 stay after class," and all of this stuff. And then we did the work, and she was like, "Oh, you're good." I was like, "Yeah, you just ate your words, didn't you?"
So stupid, honestly. Like, what is... Yeah. I don't understand people that, or the teachers or the people that feel the need to know how we get the work done. I think the most effective teachers I've had didn't pry into what I did, but how it's coming across. Mm-hmm. I've heard of teachers like diving into what substitutions are for people, like past experience, like asking actors to reveal their traumatic past experiences to them. I'm like, that's so invasive. Like, to each his own.
That's exactly.
I'm not going to rag on like anyone's process. If you're cool with spilling your guts about, how you, get to a certain emotion or to portray a certain character, that's awesome for you. But like, not for me. Good for you, not for me, as Amy Poehler says in her book.
No, it's exactly how my schooling was. It's interesting that you brought that up because they really tried to break us down and get us to our most vulnerable state.
Yeah.
And it was rough.
I personally don't. That's not my preference.
It's not my preference. I will say I learned a lot about myself, particularly, and it was a good. I mean, coming out of it, I feel like it was I don't want to say good it was an experience. It was an experience, and I think it made me who I am today. But it was rough. And you know what? Honestly, that teacher, she ended up apologizing to me before I graduated.
How did you feel when she apologized to you?
It felt really good.
That's awesome.
It felt really, really good. And
That's
I was
very
like,
rare to
and
get an apology from people that do that.
It was very rare, and I didn't necessarily expect it, but when it happened, I was like, and it wasn't your typical apology, but in my mind, I was like, oh, this is her apologizing to me. And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Nice.
I'll take it and run.
You should.
Yeah.
What does it feel like in your actual like physical body when you're feeling vulnerable like that?
It's tough for me to talk about because I normally try to block those moments out because I struggle with it. Oh gosh, it feels really lonely. It feels really lonely and really like I'm not good enough. That's how I would say it feels like to me. I know that's not a normal, like I need to fix my, you know what I'm saying? I need to look at vulnerability as something different than that. But that's how, I think with my experiences, that's how it's made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to not have those experiences become who I am. Because they're not. It's not who I am. It's some things that happen to me that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't
get that.
go through life with those experiences on my shoulders.
Totally.
What about you? You're better with it than I am.
I don't think I'm better with it. I think we're different. I put myself out there whenever I feel like it's necessary to put myself out there. I recently had an experience with someone that I had to be vulnerable. And I was just like physically speaking, I was shaking. I was sharing something very intimate with them. And I was like shaking and my eyeballs felt hot. Like, I don't know if you ever get that, like where you just feel like warmth in your eye sockets.
I don't know if that's ever, I mean,
when I get
I'm probably blocking it out.
Very vulnerable or very angry, I just feel like this heat in my eyes. And I was shaking and like there was no breath happening. Like my whole upper chest was just like seized up. And like I cry when I'm like feeling like if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm angry, like any like extreme emotion I feel, I always cry. I cry at commercials. I cry at everything. My friend just got married this weekend and it was the most beautiful thing. I sobbed all weekend because I become overwhelmed and like tears have to come out. It's like too much information, something has to come out. It's going to be the tears. But yeah, that's physically like my body gets hot and I like I get all twitchy and like shaky and I do a lot of breathing like that. Like thinking about it, it's getting me like winded.
No, but it's good you allow yourself to get to that point because I think for me, it's all about acting like it's not happening. I'm like, you must remain calm, cool,
You're like,
and
I'm gonna yawn now.
I'm like, this is my time to yawn. This is, cue the yawn. Cue the fake yawn. Like, no, but seriously, I'm like, you must remain calm, cool, and collective. Even though, like, I will kill myself trying to remain calm. I will. I totally will. Even when I'm, like, in pieces. I mean, I've done it.
It's my favorite thing to connect with someone because sometimes, yeah, you don't get, like, necessarily the best result from being vulnerable with someone. But when you are vulnerable with someone, I've had experiences where they are just vulnerable back. And that's, like, some amazing connectivity.
Well, if one person does it, it opens the door for the other person to do it.
You think, right?
Well, usually.
Most normal people.
No, usually. But I will say in my experience, not being vulnerable, I've really self-sabotaged myself in a lot of ways. I mean, just to get personal, I didn't realize how much of a problem it was until I broke up with my boyfriend of like 5 years. And I was trying to date, and I was like, whoa, this is an issue for me.
Yeah.
I took for granted how much he adapted and knew me. Like, if I said something, he would, know, like, oh, it's just because, And I took for granted, like, I really did. I was like, oh, well, everyone's just going to get it. No. And I started dating and I was like, wow, this is like a real problem for me. I'm not only self-sabotaging myself, but I'm like totally frustrating the other person because I can't give. I'm putting myself out there is excruciating. And I'll only do it unless I know for sure it's safe.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
that usually involves the other person being vulnerable first. But when you put yourself in a situation with someone that also doesn't know how to be vulnerable, which is what happened.
A lot of people, I think it's a common thing.
Yeah, it's a common thing. And it was really a learning experience. I don't regret that situation at all because I think it taught me a lot because we were both unable to be vulnerable and it was like a huge mess. But it also taught me so much about myself. And I was like, you need to do this. You have to in order to build a relationship with someone. It's impossible if you don't. So that's what I'm taking from that.
I like it.
Yeah. Very good.
Very good. This is what I like about this project. It's like we're learning new things about ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Are there any... First of all, I want to ask you, are you going to do that exercise with anyone ever again?
Oh my God. I don't know. I probably should. Shane always calls me out on not being vulnerable enough. Like on the reg.
On the reg?
On the reg. Yeah. So I probably should. I don't know.
With eye contact in particular, or just like generally with like sharing things
just like
that make
in
you...
general.
Mm.
And he can even tell. He'll be like, this is really bothering you right now, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're losing it. I think it's so
rewarding when you are able to be vulnerable with someone and it's welcomed by the other person and respected and they don't take advantage of what you shared. But that's a risk you take when you open up to someone.
Absolutely.
I've been burned and I've been rewarded by being vulnerable. And just because I've been burned doesn't mean I'm going to stop being vulnerable.
I love that. I admire that.
That sounds really like tooting my own horn,
but that's how you're supposed to do it. That's how you're supposed to do it. I mean, I remember when we were having a conversation about this episode, and I was like, I can't think of a time. It's because I'm not putting myself out there. You know what I mean? To have those experiences, I'm avoiding it. I'm totally avoiding it.
Yeah,
and it's not good. You're doing it right. Or you're doing it.
I don't think there's right.
There's not a right way to do it. I shouldn't say right. I just say you're experiencing. I guess what I should say is I'm, holding myself back. Holding myself back by doing what I'm doing.
But that's a beautiful thing. Like you can totally fix that at any time. If you're unhappy with how you're,
Yeah. And honestly, like I think that was how it was supposed to happen. With, the learning experience that I had because I have gotten better at it since. I've really gotten better. I'm not great, but I've gotten better and I can recognize it now. Before I wasn't even recognizing that it was an issue. The person I was in a relationship with knew 101% what the issue was. I was oblivious. I was completely oblivious. And so I needed to have that experience in order to recognize it.
Are there any performances that you admire when it comes to vulnerability?
Absolutely. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I'll bring up The Notebook. It's a scene that probably people kind of overlook because as an audience, you're not concerned. It's when she is engaged to her new man and she goes back to see Noah. As an audience, you know that Noah's still madly in love with her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
she doesn't know.
She doesn't know. She drives there because she feels she has to do it.
She doesn't know he's written to her. She doesn't know if he'll recognize her.
She has no idea. She shows up. And in that scene, everyone overlooks it because as an audience, you know what's going to happen and all that stuff. Everyone overlooks it, but like it's so uncomfortable when she drives up and she's like, hey, well, how you doing?
I saw your picture in the paper.
I saw your, like, she doesn't know what to say. She's like coming up with things. She's like, are you okay? Like,
now knowing you, like, that scene, like, reminds me of you a little bit.
Oh my
when she gets
God.
to the car, she's like, I'm a stupid woman. I shouldn't have come
and
here.
Then she runs into, oh my God. I literally relate to that scene so much because, like, if anyone knows me, like, cars and driving, I don't know. But that would be
This
me.
girl
She
has
runs
anxiety parallel parking her car. So she would run into a wooden fence.
She backs into the fence. She's like a mess. She's a wreck. She doesn't know what she's doing. Like, I'm like, that is vulnerability right there. Like, she doesn't know if he's going to, and he's just staring at her. Like a typical man, like, doesn't know what to say. He's like,
he's freaking out.
He's freaking
just
out
internally.
His
he
mind
looks calm.
is short-circuiting.
He's like trying to fake yawn.
He's trying to fake yawn. She's like, what should I say? But like, I imagine that is so, like, I relate to that scene so hard because I'm like, that's exactly how I would react in a vulnerable situation, and I would follow my guts and drive there and then not know what to say and be so unsure. Like, it's. I love that scene, and everyone. I don't know if. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like that's not something that's talked about. That scene.
That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie.
It's amazing
for the same reason.
Yeah,
but I didn't even realize that was why.
Yeah,
yeah, because vulnerability is so closely related to bravery, and my favorite like standout scenes in any movie are the scenes where someone stands up and does something super brave. Leads the charge, and I feel like being vulnerable is leading the charge for yourself.
Ooh, mic drop. Words of wisdom from Pam.
Oh my God, it's so rare.
No, it's not. Oh my gosh. You say things all the time, and I'm like, oh shit.
Okay, write it down because I'm not gonna remember.
Let me write that down. I don't have a pen. Yikes. So a scene for you.
I thought of two. I mentioned in another episode, I mentioned a Titanic scene. So I feel like it's lame to like come up with two examples from that movie, but obviously like the given one is when she poses nude for him when he draws her. She's got it all over her face. I know you're a big Kate Winslet fan too.
Love Kate Winslet.
That is like such a vulnerable moment for her.
That lady's a badass.
Oh my God, she's so good. She's so good. So that one's like kind of an obvious, amazing performance of vulnerability. And I also thought of Outlander for similar reasons that you thought of The Notebook. I don't know if any of you guys out there watch Outlander. It's on Stars or Starzy. I don't know how you say it. Stars. Badass show based on a book series that I read and love. And spoiler alert. So if you haven't gotten all the way through, or just earmuffs, put your muffs on for like a second. She comes back to him and she's much older. They're both much older, and she doesn't know how he's gonna take her, coming back, or how she looks now that she's a good 20 years older. And they were married, and it's just like this moment of, are you still attracted to me? Do you still like me? Have you moved on? Have you married someone else? All these questions that they haven't answered, but they're like going on the faith that like they love each other, and like supposedly that their love is timeless, and they're just like seeing each other for the first time, and one of them faints, and then the other one's like, what the fuck?
That would be me fainting.
But there was like this huge vulnerability, and like, what do you see in me? It's been forever. Like, what are you thinking? I think it has to do with like wanting to know what the other person is thinking too.
Yeah. If I could have a superpower.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I would go with that or teleportation.
Well, I'd like to be invisible as well.
I love teleportation. My life would be made so much easier if I could just go wherever I want, when I want, at a moment's notice.
I'd like to have multiple superpowers, but I feel like being able to read minds would be also like great and also terrible at the same time.
Oh my God, it'd be too loud. There's already too much going on in here. It'd be too loud.
Oh yeah. Like it's something that in theory, I think would be great for certain situations, but if it's actually a reality, it would be very stressful.
I agree. Are you okay?
That's a loaded question. Well, you know what? I wasn't okay before we did this.
Oh my God. The resistance this girl had to this episode was out of control, but I think this is probably one of my favorite ones that we've done.
No, it was good. This has been like a therapy session.
I felt like a terrible human being bringing you here today.
No, I know. You asked me. You were like, well, we don't have to do it. And I was like, no. I was like, me and my competitive nature. I was like, no, I need to do it. I need to overcome it. And I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad I talked about the things that I needed to talk about. And I think it's been a big realization. And I feel a sense of calm right now.
I always feel calm after we record.
Yeah, I feel a sense of calm. I was totally not okay before we did this episode, and now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very self-aware.
In a good way?
In a good way. And also just like looking back on everything that's happened and feeling like I've grown from it is like kind of amazing too. So I feel good about that.
Nice.
What about you? Are you okay?
I'm great.
Are you?
I struggle like with sadness every now and then, but I will say I had an awesome weekend. I got to see two of my friends do a play called On an Average Day by John Colvinback. It's a 2-person play, and they're two of my classmates, and the work they're doing in that show, honestly, I personally feel like even some veteran actors can't. A lot of people would like be envious watching their performances. They're honestly doing some shit that's like out of control. It was really inspiring to see that on Sunday. I can't wait to see it again because I think they're running at the complex for a month, and I'd like to see the work progress as the show goes along, because they're gonna, and obviously, like, no matter how much work they put in already, and they put in a shit ton of work, it's always they're gonna find new things, and I'm excited to see what they find. So that's really inspiring. And also my oldest friend in the world just got married this weekend, and I was in her wedding, and lots of sobbing in a good way. It was like really emotional and really beautiful. And they've been together for like 12 years, and it was honestly like they were already married, and they were just having a party to celebrate the fact that they were already married. It was so beautiful. So yeah, I'm great. Thanks so much for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the things. If for some reason you want to see more of us, you can follow us on Instagram at NoOne'sOkay.
And a special thanks to Jordan Ross Weinhold, Sean Moore, Jason Crow, Claire Palmer, Jackson Palmer, Tiffany Haymoff, Shane Rings, James Liddell, and our podcast is recorded at Soundworks Studios. We can't wait to meet you!
Do you need to be excused, Alexa?
Yes.
Go try.
I tried once and I couldn't go, and now I knew this would happen.
I'm dead.
I hate myself. I was like, I'm gonna try to go to the bathroom, and then nothing happened, and now I was like, great, I have to pee in the middle of Pam's dramatic fucking
We'll be
story.
right back.
Let me just vomit real quick. This is like the worst.